Most people spend an entire lifetime trying to find their calling. And I think I was just incredibly privileged and incredibly lucky to find my calling so young. But the irony is, when you do that, you don't appreciate what you have. You think it's normal. Where people don't remember the person who was working in a call center and we spotted something in them. Or the person who was working as a journalist and we were like, actually, you could probably do social media because you tell a great story succinctly.
There is a certain clarity that, you know what, yes, women were programmed to spread themselves extremely thin to prove themselves worthy. And I think this has to end. Honestly.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh. I know that's not going to change about me. I will be thinking, is there a book? And then can the book become a movie? And then can the movie become an entire production?
انزلي يا ايمي اقعدي يا ايمي خلاص. Hi Amy.
Hi Yara.
At the beginning كده, I just want to make a disclaimer and we're going to have this conversation in English.
Yes.
And for those who are interested, they can find full translation on the YouTube channel, but Spotify is going to be in English.
At my request, so I really appreciate it.
Maybe in a year we're going to have one in Arab, full on. Maybe, you never know.
The problem is mine. I'm the problem. I'm the drama. You know what it was, Yara? I just felt I was really excited to do this. And I also understand the core of what this podcast is. And I wanted to do it. I didn't want to do it a disservice by not being able to express myself in the language that I think in. So I do speak Arabic, just not as eloquently as I should.
You know, the thing is, you were spot on because when I started this podcast, it was in English, and then it was kind of a mix between English and Arabic. And of course, this brings a lot of kind of criticism. But the important thing was for me is to express myself and make room for people to express themselves without feeling shamed of their language. And that was really important. And then my love for the Arabic language is what moved me into saying, you know what, no, I want to make it Arabic because I want to make it Middle Eastern. And I'm sure, we're both educated and our lives took us to many foreign lands, you know. But what I've learned, honestly, and maybe this would encourage you a little bit, in the Arabic language, it's not about being the mother tongue because it's not the Egyptians' mother tongue, honestly. But it opens different pathways to who I am. It's insane.
But that's the power of language, right? It doesn't just give you, it's not a literal thing, right? It gives you access to different contexts and different ways of thinking. I had an interesting conversation I was moderating a talk for an incredible poet who just recently released a collection of poems. And she actually writes fluently in Arabic and English, but she always prefers to write in English when it's her own stories.
Okay.
And she says she's always asked that question. Why, as an Arab, she's half Egyptian, half Palestinian, do you always write in English? Or she don't ask the question. I think being asked the question is okay. I think being ostracized or attacked is problematic. And she answered, and it stuck with me. She said, maybe you should ask yourself the context of how I, as an Egyptian or an Arab, have ended up where my quote-unquote mother tongue or the language in which I'm most comfortable is English, right? Because there's an entire history that leads up to that.
Amen.
And I'm sitting here as someone who was born in England. I was raised in England my entire life outside of any Arab community. I was educated in universities in England. So I didn't come to Egypt until my mid-20s. Yes, we spoke Arabic in the house, but obviously the language in which you're educated in, the language in which you read, the language in which you consume information shapes your entire mindset. So it's very difficult for me to be able to carry a conversation with the same passion or depth, much as I would love to. And yet I still chose to be back here in Egypt and telling stories on behalf of Egypt.
Yes. And that's honestly, that's the beauty of that's the beauty of Egypt, I would believe. The fact that it brings you back.
Yeah.
It's the roots and it brings you back, and just let's put a pin on
pin in
language
that.
on language and on Egypt, because I know with us we can, I know for a fact that we can like talk
4
about
hours later.
Yeah, talk
4
about
hours later.
Exactly. So I want to keep this very personal.
Okay.
Because for me, transformation is something that attracts me very much to people. Like that, their ability to transform and their ability to accept the rebirth is something that I really love. And how you started out as a writer, and I hope I'm not stereotypical, but an introverted writer, turning into like the CEO of a media empire. What? How did that transformation happen? Especially that I feel it's kind of coming full circle.
It is.
So,
And I think it's interesting that you've noticed that. Most people spend an entire lifetime trying to find their calling. And I think I was just incredibly privileged and incredibly lucky to find my calling so young. But the irony is, when you do that, you don't appreciate what you have, right? You think it's normal. You think, I truly thought it was normal to wake up in the morning and every day get paid for doing something that I relish and that I would do 24/7 a day. I was writing since I was very young. I was writing since I was a teenager and student publications. I didn't realize, however, that what I was getting applause for was the writing. بمعنى إيه مثلا? I did a lot of really cool internships when I was في الجامعة. So I worked for Red Bull at Soho House in London in the very early days of Red Bull. I worked for Disney Television. I did an internship with Levi's. And what was the one thing, and these were like highly competitive places to get, with tens of thousands of applications from across Europe for kids wanting to do these things. And it would always be essay-based, right? Write a personal essay about kaza, or write an essay about this topic. And I thought that I didn't realize that what was getting me into these rooms was the writing itself.
what did you think was getting you into those
thought
rooms?
I had the right answer, right? They asked you a question. I thought I answered correctly.
Yeah.
Or I answered
Do you think there is a correct answer now?
No. You know now, right? There was no correct answer. And I think, and so it took, and then something happened. I was in Texas on a semester abroad. And this is, of course, many years before social media. I mean, we started using the internet في الجامعة. And we would still go للlibrary to, I don't know why بقى, I'm now going to speak in Arabic. Okay, so we'd still go to the library in order to use the internet.
Yes.
And so anyway, so I was in Texas at UT in Austin. And I started writing emails to my friends about my insights and my observations and about my adventures in Texas, right? What a big culture shock from England.
Yeah.
And then I realized a strange thing would start happening where I'd be getting replies from people who I didn't even send emails to. So essentially the work was going viral before
without understanding.
virality, right? So because what people were doing is they were forwarding on and being like, oh my gosh, this is so funny, or this is so true, or this is so insightful.
Yeah.
And that's maybe when I started to realize, but truth be told, it was my mom long before any of this. She would say, for years she would say, she's going to be a writer, she's going to be a writer, she's going to be a writer, you're going to be a writer, you're going to be a writer. And I would dismiss it because it is our job as young women to dismiss everything our mothers tell us.
Yes.
And my relationship with my mother is especially acrimonious.
Yeah.
Because she is the most supportive person in the world in a way that is
which is irritating.
And so
I'm still struggling. My mom thinks I'm going to be an artist, and I'm 42, and I'm still in defiance of that. I was like, I am truly an artist, but I will not be an artist.
Isn't that, and that's so interesting that your mom wants you to be artist as opposed to more traditional corporate
Yeah,
things.
no, my mom is very cool. And
Yeah.
that's why we
Cool
kind of...
mom. Okay. And so she had said it all along. And then I studied business in my undergrad. And it was one of the top 5 business schools in the UK at the time, at the University of Bath. And I had done it because my parents, who have always been very supportive of everything I said, stopped right there and said, or my father actually, he goes, I wanted to study either theater studies, which I did at A-levels, or English literature. And my dad said, you can do what you want after, but you're getting a business degree first. Because you have to be a leader, which I also feel very privileged to
You
grow
do
up
have
with
the qualities, though. I mean, you do have the qualities.
I learned them.
Really?
Life teaches you them, I
Okay.
think.
Taib, you know what? I just want to move to somewhere like...
Sure, right here? Okay,
like,
let's do it.
bring me the depth. Like, give me the depth. Like, how... yeah. Because that movement from knowing that you want to be a writer, right? Or not knowing, you didn't know you wanted to be a writer, right?
I became a writer. My first proper job, I ended up being a writer.
Okay.
Yes.
And how did you move from that into who you are today, or who you were if you...
So it's not such a big leap, is it, Yora? Do you know what I mean? To go from, I was running a magazine, like I started as a writer, but I very quickly moved up to the point where I was the managing editor of that publication. So I was leading media, but someone else's media.
Yeah, but I mean, like writing, it requires a certain intimacy with yourself, right?
Yeah.
And CEOing or leading is like a completely different part of you. You don't feel...
disagree.
Really?
I
Tell
disagree.
me how.
Because you're telling a story.
Yeah.
Right? As a CEO, you walk into that room every day, whether it's with 5 people or 500 people, and you have to convince them that the story, what is a business? It's a made-up thing. It's bullshit, right? It's nonsense. You wake up and yet you wake up in the morning and you go to a room full of people and you have to tell them the story that they're all going to buy into. And you have to repeat that story day in and day out. And as the world changes around you, you have to change that story. And for me especially, with Mo4 is my name, that's my surname, that's my name on it. It's personal. And I think there's different types of entrepreneurship. I think there is the entrepreneurship that we equate with entrepreneurship that has defined the last 2 decades. This kind of Silicon Valley imported idea of entrepreneurship of someone invests, you scale up, you sell.
Yeah.
And then there is an entrepreneurship where you're building something that's meaningful to you. You're building a business. Yeah. Or even you're building something that you require to survive, right? A tech bro who's trying to exit is not that doesn't work out, he's on to the next idea because he's gotten a market product fit, right?
Yeah.
As opposed to a person who either is trying to build something that they're passionate about, or a person who literally has decided to give up everything, which is what my brothers and I did, give up everything in order to build something, and now this is literally the way that you eat.
Yes.
And when you're in the middle of a survival story, the requirement to build a narrative for everyone becomes vital. Especially what we were doing was so cutting edge at the time and so pioneering. How are you going to get people's buy-ins? How am I going to get a bunch of fresh grads and 20-year-olds to believe that they're going to work in an industry that no one understands anything about, and we're going to change the world together? Yeah. It's a story. You're telling a story.
It is. It is a narrative.
What I lost along the way, not lost, because I know that that's the reason we're here. Lost is the wrong way. And you're coming to me at an interesting inflection point because I don't have enough distance from this transformation, as you call it, to understand, to truly be able to give you what it means, which you need some hindsight. And all origin stories are made up in hindsight.
Yes.
But I think
what's changing within you?
Yeah, so I think for a long time, I equated Mo4's story from my story. as opposed to understanding this is just one part. It is an incredibly key part of my story, but it's just one part of my story.
Yeah.
But I had to give that story everything. And that's what changed, Yara, is I laid it. It was the biggest story I'd ever told, right? And I laid it all out on the line for it. I gave it everything. I look back on my daughter, my son and daughter last month, both turned 13 and 11. And I was not part of their story. And I know there's layers of mommy guilt that probably also twist that to make it even worse than it probably in reality is.
Yes, but that's a very aware observation, and I think I always what I admire most about most people now, like after 100 interviews maybe, is their honesty, is their self-honesty, and I think what you're just doing right now is brilliant. Whether it's coming from guilt, coming from whatever emotion it's coming from, doesn't matter now.
And so I'm very lucky that my husband was there, and I'm aware that's a tremendous privilege to have an Arab man, ونص نص, but an Arab man who's so hands-on.
أكيد مش عربي بالضبط للأسف يعني.
But I think people aren't honest, people, at least for our generation, no one told women the reality of what they were stepping into. We were told that we could do it all and we can have it all. You can't, just not at the same time. You can't have it at the same time.
Or the brilliant part of it is, yes, you can, maybe you can, but you don't want to. Maybe right now.
Something's got to give. Yeah. Something has to give. You can't. I don't agree with. I think Gen Z is extraordinary.
I believe so.
I think they are a generation that is going to change the world because they have awareness and they have empathy and they have access to all of the information of the world, quite literally.
Amen.
But the thing that I don't agree with them is that they are not aware of what it takes.
Effort.
The effort that it takes.
They don't understand effort.
This is not my line. I saw it somewhere the other day, but if your imagination tells you that you want to live an extraordinary life, we've got to put in an extraordinary amount of effort.
Yes.
And it doesn't matter if you don't want that. It's not right or wrong, خالص. But if you want that
did you want
incredible? Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I know that.
Do you still want?
Just it's changed the way that I want it.
Yeah.
And maybe that's just something about not having to prove yourself anymore or proven yourselves in ways. And that's different transformations. You know, when I was a writer and when I was running a magazine, it was about me. I wanted everyone to think that I was the smartest and I was the best and I was the shiniest. And then very quickly, within a few years of starting MO4, that entire feeling of mine shifted towards actually the real power play here is if I can prove that I can create a space and a platform that showcases other people. And one of the things that I'm proudest of now, Yara, is you look in the market, the best people in the market graduated out of MO4.
I love that.
I wish they'd stayed.
Don't we all?
But there's some huge names, because we've been now 15 years, where people don't remember the person who was working in a call center and we spotted something in them, or the person who was working as a journalist and we were like, actually, you could probably do social media because you tell a great story succinctly.
I love that.
And we built generations of talent that are out now continuing to transform industries in powerful and impactful ways. And that for me was a secondary shift. And ironically, what I'm doing right now is actually coming back to me, but not in that same
not from an ego,
childish ego way.
Yeah.
But in a way
that's what I'm feeling.
You know, in a way of even I have experience and I have age. And especially as a woman, I'm very privileged to have experience on my side and age on my side and life lessons on my side as a woman who has a platform. And so what does it mean to now speak out loud on behalf of my story and those lessons, as opposed to, and I'm not quitting, I'm not no more for, because I still need to eat.
Yes. No, but I mean, it's the beautiful thing about transformation is, at our age, right? It doesn't become zeros or ones. Like when I was telling you my story, the thing is, had I the option, I wouldn't have quit my job and maybe created that podcast and then that small production company alongside. What stopped me was my body. It didn't allow me. So it was a force. It wasn't my mindset where I need to, I'm gonna turn the slate, just turn the page. No, it wasn't that. Just, it kind of was written.
Your body knows what you need before you.
Exactly. And I think the brave thing, because you were saying how brave it was, the brave thing was, I listened. That's it. I listened. That's the only brave thing I do. And until today, I think this is why I enjoy this very much, is that we're not raised, or our generation is not raised to listen so intently, We just maybe listen to reply or listen to be there, but to actually listen to what's going on, it's so much more beautiful. Sitting here, sitting with you, like, of course I know you, I know you, I know of you. And I think every successful woman, even if she sparks a little bit of competition, I'm just in awe of the amount of power it requires and the amount of, sacrifice.
Let me ask you a question, because you listened to yourself and you took the right decision for you, and you started to build this. How do you, because as someone who has that drive, because anyone who starts something from scratch has crazy drive.
Of course.
How do you then, are you actively going, oh, well, I'm not going to push myself beyond that? Where do you, because I often think that, right? So where do you go?
I know.
I'm going to say no to this, although it's really cool and big, because I know it's going to just tip me over the edge again.
I love that. That's exactly, it's just listening. It's just, you keep on listening. And the drive, and I don't know if it's, honestly, the only thing I know, and this is always what I say, the more I know that I don't know. And it humbles me, and I think, you know what, I'm good on my couch, but I always visualize it as you're driving a car, and you're just aware of your body, of your mind, of your state, of your soul, of what your soul wants, and you are in tuned. Yes, I know my mind thinks that I can be the biggest, best, I can be that, of course. But does my body and heart want that? No. I'd rather be with my daughter. I'd rather prioritize. Yeah. So I would, because I fully acknowledge that my mind, yes, I can visualize Yara being as she's always been, like the achiever and but I very effectively, very mindfully say, you know what? مش مستاهلة.
I think it takes a lot of inner knowing and inner peace, because it also means having to stop yourself from going, oh, but maybe people think that this is the biggest that I can do.
Yeah.
They don't understand. I would still have that thing in me of wanting to go, no, but you don't understand. It's a choice.
I know, and it's very difficult.
That's hard.
And it's very difficult. And canceling things is very difficult. And saying no is very difficult, especially when it comes to the drive that is innately built in us and our generation to achieve. It's just, it is what it is. Mm-hmm. And it was there for a reason, I'm sure. I mean, it is what it is in general. But I think what would move us forward is just listening to ourselves. Like what you're doing now. And this is why I feel we're very on the brink of something, and I love being on the brink of something. I love this feeling, and to see someone that is brave enough to say, yes, I was this person, and I was that person, and I was this. and now I'm becoming something else that I don't know.
Yeah, I don't. You're absolutely right. This is it. Like, I feel like there's something happening.
Yeah.
And I haven't quite figured. I turned 45 this Friday, although I've spent 1 year saying I'm 45. Just
Before.
I've always done that. I always, and whenever anyone else, I'll always up, not down, just to like psychology. And I'm, you know what, I got here.
Yeah.
I'm proud of. Like, I don't understand that instinct too. تصغري نفسك. I don't have that.
عارفة that notion of I paid for each and every year. I like really showed up for each and every white hair. So
right,
I'm not gonna make it.
I earned it.
Yeah.
And and it was like I was saying to you, you realize the things. I put everything on the line, and I sacrificed a lot. Yeah. I sacrificed having more children. Yeah. And again, you're coming up. And again, we never talk a lot, especially in this society and this culture, we never talk enough about perimenopause or menopause. And I'm coming up to 45 and I can't figure out if my mind is tricking me into thinking that I so desperately wanted more children because I'm approaching not being able to have them. Or which voice am I supposed to listen to?
What is your heart telling you?
Right, which is what I'm supposed to listen to. And I feel, and it wasn't an active decision. I think that's the problem. I never actively, at any point throughout my 30s, went, I want or don't. I wanted, and it was okay. And then I got pregnant and I had my second miscarriage. And but it wasn't active. And now I'm going, wait, was that a real active decision?
Yeah.
Or did I just get too busy and too distracted
or maybe
building a business, which actually is one of the things that has sort of shifted me, because I really got into a cycle for a hot minute there, especially a couple of years ago and the beginning of last year, where I felt extraordinarily resentful towards the things that I built. And I would have these screaming matches, my brothers or my partners, and I would have these screaming matches going, Mo4 took my life away from me. Mo4 took my ability to have more kids away. And I understood, though, that if there was anyone I was supposed to hold accountable to that process, it's myself. I wanted to blame everyone.
But I mean, the beauty of because this is from our family to yours, so family is part of that we need to tap into. And I think what you just said is beautiful, because only with family you're allowed to have that space to kind of go insane and to resent and to express yourself. And it's completely fine because it holds truth. It does hold truth. And it holds other truths as well, but it holds your truth. And you understand after that process, you will realize that, as you just said, we allow it.
We allow that.
I kept saying, it's like, they made me get a heart attack. No, they didn't. No, they didn't. Nobody does. Nobody. And that's like one of the hardest truths. That's one of the hardest to accept it. That this is something that, whether we want to admit it or not, we've done it upon ourselves. But it's not easy.
It's not. And no one tells you. And no one explains. And no one explains the impact of the choices that you are going to make.
Yeah. But the beauty of life, again, as I started this podcast, and I knew this was gonna be good. I just felt it in my heart. And as cliche as that may sound, but every day is a new beginning. Mm-hmm. And I remind myself, and you tell me, how do you keep yourself at bay from things that look very sparkly? I just remind myself of my priorities. Okay, Adam, I have like those 3 priorities and maybe 5 values. And it's a kind of from a balance between this and that. Okay, is this something that fits? Yes, it fits. Then let's do it. And that's it.
You gotta check in with yourself constantly.
Constantly,
right?
Constantly, because you know what I've learned from this ending, this life ending, or like I always call the second wind. The second wind is that you take nothing with you. You really take nothing with you except yourself. So that's the only, yes, I will keep checking in with myself. And
then the reality is everyone you're out there trying to impress doesn't really care. doesn't care about you.
Oh, but that's a big lesson. That's a hard one. That's a hard one to swallow. That's
the thing I think you also have to finally come to the conclusion to is that I'm trying to prove myself to people who ultimately are going to go home and put their head in the pillow and they're only worried about their own shit. They don't care about you, and we expend so much energy for that, and especially as women.
It is, and I think it's part of the programming that we need to. I'm really grateful for the shifts, or for this shift that we're going through. I mean, the world is crazy around us, and it is very actively crazy. But I can't help but feel very grateful that there is a certain clarity. There is a certain clarity that, yes, women were programmed to spread themselves extremely thin to prove themselves worthy. Full stop. Full stop. And I think this has to end. Honestly.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh. Yes, it is. It absolutely is. It's. I don't know if it's. I hear this a lot. The reason I'll tell you why. The reason I'm.
Yeah.
It's because I hear this idea. I don't know with me because I hear this idea of in order to prove that I'm worthy, and I don't know if that was ever my trigger, but it was just the idea of. It never occurred to me that I had a choice. I didn't know that I had a choice. I didn't know all the way back. I didn't know that I had a choice to get married or not get married. I didn't know that I had a choice to have kids or not have kids. It never occurred to me, not that I would have, because I know for 100% sure that's just not my personality.
Yeah.
But it never even occurred to me. Like I'll see young people today be like, I think I'm going to not work for a year. If they're very lucky and privileged enough to be able to take a decision like that. It never occurred to me.
It didn't. It wasn't
right?
on.
It wasn't even an option. Like I finished university. Now I have to have a job. Very lucky that I got a job I loved and cherished. But it didn't occur to me that I could stay at home or pursue a passion or travel. Like it didn't occur to me. And then once I had kids, it also never occurred to me that irrespective of any financial ecosystem or financial standing, it still didn't occur to me that I could go, I shall stay with my kids now.
Yes.
I did it, I always joke, I used to do piano lessons as a kid and I hated it. Hated the piano lessons. I did them for 10 years, Yara. 10 years. And I was so bad at it. But it just never occurred to me that I could not do it. Someone said start piano lessons, and I just carried on.
Yeah.
And I just have that thing in me, and it's only now, with all of this age and time and experience and resentments that are of my own doing, that I'm going, what is it that I want here? And what is it that is going, but I will say this, Yara, and I know this will not be a popular opinion, and I know it goes against so much of the discourse of these days, but even that I feel you have to earn.
What do you mean?
I feel you have to earn, not because you have to prove stuff to people, but I think you have to earn the right to sit back and go, okay, what is it that I now will choose to do because I have fulfilled my responsibilities and accountabilities in life.
Yeah.
Right? And I'm not talking about choosing a cooler job over a crappier job. I'm not talking about those superficialities. But I think also what slips through the net these days sometimes is that you are, when we talk about this is my personal space and these are my boundaries, no, you are accountable to certain people in your life. You are accountable to your
100%.
family, right? You're accountable to your elders, providing that they haven't screwed you over in the worst ways.
And you know what? Providing that they have as well.
Even if they have, Yara.
Quite right.
I mean, there's extreme situations and that's not the topic. And you are accountable to your community. And you do not get to, in my opinion, just go through life and going, well, I don't care because this is what I want right now.
No.
Right?
You know what?
Even if, let's say, even if, alhamdulillah, you finish school or university and you are privileged enough that your parents can provide for you and you don't have to work. By what fucking right do you think that they owe you that?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You are obligated. You are obligated to go out into the world and stand on your own two feet. And if you can do that through TikTok, all power to you. I am the first to applaud you. Yeah. I was too old. If I could have been a TikToker, I would be doing nothing else but making money from TikTok right now. But you've got to be accountable.
You know what I'm hearing? I like some of what you're saying is resonating and others not really. But what I'm really genuinely hearing is that we have to continue searching. Mm-hmm. We cannot, Gen Z realizing that, yes, they do have awareness. They do have self-awareness. They don't have collective awareness. Mm-hmm. Nobody is perfect. No generation is
But that's not their fault as well, because where they grow up.
None is
inside this.
Yeah, but none is isolating. None is our fault. We're not placing blame, right? We're just saying, to each generation is their own thing and their own definition of success. And I understand and resonate 100% with the fact that I didn't think I had a choice. I didn't think I had a choice. The only thing I knew is how to give me this, I'll get it done. And I'll get it done perfectly, even if I cannot.
Are you an oldest daughter?
No, I'm a middle child.
A middle child?
Yeah.
It's interesting.
More things too.
Oldest daughter.
Yeah, but an only daughter.
An only daughter. Yeah. Okay. There's no way a second daughter is out here going, I'll get the job done.
No, the pride and joy and all, yeah. Because you know what, families are complicated, but they are meant to be complicated.
Yeah.
Like this is part of our growth. And the only thing that I would say, never stop learning. And the first thing one needs to learn about is themselves. And how can I go into the world? Like a few days ago, a friend of mine asked me, do you regret anything? And before that, I had the answer straight. I was like, no, I don't regret anything because everything was piled up to where I am today. I think for the first time, I was honest. I was like, yes, I do regret things. I wish I had known myself as well as I know myself today 20 years ago.
But youth is wasted on the young. Yes. Ultimately, I think that's the conclusion we all come to. Yes. I wish I knew now.
Yeah.
What I know now back then.
Yes. Because the only thing I know now is that I'm worthy. To be honest, I'm worthy to be sitting on the table. I'm worthy to just be. Like I'm showing up and looking pretty. Full stop.
Yeah, I don't know if it's about worthiness, but I am still, whatever that space is and whatever it is I'm doing, and I don't know if this is a personality thing that I won't be able to break or I'm just too early in that part of the journey, but I still have that thing in my head of if I don't do, then I don't deserve.
Yeah.
And I still have, it's very difficult for me to let go of that. Whatever that is.
Yeah.
Right? Even if I'm 100% focused on my writing right now, I
understand. I understand, and it's not that I understand because I have gone through this and I have come the other way. There's no other way.
It's a process.
It's just something that you go through day in and day out, and you just kind of wave it. And again, the only thing that proved successful for me personally is to listen. Is to listen to myself, listen to my body. And sometimes I need to acknowledge the fact that after I listened, I will not be able to take that choice because I really want this too much. Because again, there's no like an award ceremony. Yeah. There's none.
But there's you and yourself.
Yes.
Right? There's you and yourself at night.
100%.
And I don't know, and I still براجع نفسي at night, well, what did I do today? And it doesn't have to be what did I do work-wise, right? It can be, today was a good day because I really made time and focus to take my daughter Maya out on a mommy-daughter day. So there was a purpose to the day. And honestly, Yara, I don't know. I know sometimes, I know, and I'm not saying I'm right or wrong. I just, sometimes I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. I think maybe it's just figuring out, well, what is the doing thing?
Yes.
That will continue to, what is the doing thing that doesn't deplete you or us?
Love that. I love that. I love that because we are so accustomed to doing, to like just showing up. And there's so many, like a gazillion quote that I could go through and ideology that we've embraced, يعني Western ones, unfortunately يعني. So I realized.
So true.
So I realized
All other kind
إنه
of
يعني بصراحة بس ده بقى محتاج series كامل يعني, you know, to unbunk and debunk.
To
you know?
unpack.
But that narrative where I need to be doing something. I have to be doing something. And it took me a year of not being able to do anything, realizing that this is my nervous system holding me back for it to relax. Because it's just, it wasn't my mind after all. It was that I needed to just be in a space where I feel safe. I feel safe to know when I need to do and when I need to just be. And it was, it still is. Yani, I mean, it is a journey of uncovering again who you are. Because you can't find that outside of you. And this is what I meant by award ceremony. There's no finality, there's no winning. And it's detrimental because I've lived my entire life wanting to win, not knowing what I'm winning.
Every day going, where's my prize?
Yeah. Yes. It's like, well,
I know.
لو حتى even if it's like my mom just saying bravo Yara, you know. I want my prize. I want someone to just walk by and clap, please, you know. And then you realize that no. I swear, it's just, and you said it's just you and you on your pillow at night. It's you and you, and just replaying the day. I mean, depending on your priorities. You know, if my priority is to build an empire, then I'll feel good about myself when I put my head that I taught some people, I hired some people, and I've created something that hasn't been there a few days ago.
Yeah.
You know, but now priority has shifted. Yeah. It's as simple as that.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It's simpler than we make it out to be. You're right. Yeah. You're right.
Yeah. I mean, I think this conversation is has gone. I think I have a question here. Okay. What is the bravest thing you had to do? But I think I have an answer. Like, I think this podcast is the bravest thing you've ever had to do.
This conversation?
Yeah.
No, this is, but I think what's the bravest thing?
Yeah.
I think there has been, I will tell you something, like the bravest thing I think I've ever had to do is to say no to something where the consequences, where I knew that the consequences of that no would be dire, and the consequences of a yes were very, very lucrative and very shiny. But my personal, moral, and intellectual compass, which is my burden sometimes, wouldn't allow. And it was a very high level risky no.
Yeah.
And I didn't show it at the time, but I was terrified saying it. And I don't give myself credit for a lot of things, Yara, because I'm always scared of doing that, lest I rested my laurels. I'm always just very scared of going, I did a great job. In case I go, okay, cool, the job is done. And then and then what? You know how I joke all the time, you know how there's this huge trend now for everyone going to do ayahuasca? And I'm terrified of the idea of that, and not out of some kind of, moral higher ground, but I'm just really terrified of having an experience like that and then being at peace.
What am I going to do when I'm at peace? I know.
Right? Because then what am I supposed to do? Because I'm so worried of being at peace and then everything around me just falling apart. And so there was I can't remember where was I. And so the brave thing was doing that, and then anyway, and I knew that I would have to. Yeah, I don't give myself. That's what I know now. I don't give myself credit for a lot of things, but that was one pivotal moment in my life where I give myself credit for having, in that terrifying moment, the presence of mind to say no, knowing the musiba level consequences, and then managing to navigate my way stubbornly through the consequences. And I think it was a making of me for that period of my life, because it just from not only gave me a kind of fearlessness that
I can say no.
I can say no, but I can survive it, and I can, as long as I truly believe in the solution, I can figure it out, or that there is a solution. And I think that was, for me, that was a thing. I think also in terms of, what's interesting with my writing, people will, and I remember this from back when my first book came out, it felt a little controversial at the time. Looking back, compared to how wonderfully open and brave and ownership, and the ownership that young women, Gen Z women today have over their stories, what I was writing was so tame compared to now. But I remember people going, well, how can you be, that's so brave. It's so brave to be so open and to be so honest about these stories. But I don't think I had that thing in me where it felt like that. It just felt like
I'm being myself.
I just felt it was never, for me, the other things were a struggle. But that was never, that wasn't so even now, as I go back to being open and talking about a lot of intimate things and concerns, since I've launched my Substack and writing in long form again, and telling very intimate stories about problems and challenges, and just, again, the growth of being a woman the journey of being a woman at this age, it doesn't feel, that's not the scary bit for me.
That's not the brave bit.
For me.
Yeah.
And I think the question remains to be seen, and I think that would be the true act of bravery, is if I can, not that I want to right now, but I feel like maybe in the future, when the time comes, will I know how to step away from this thing that I've built? It's ready for me to do that now. I know that. I know I've built something that is institutionalized beyond me, that stands outside of me. My role is to come up with the next thing, and that's fine, but it's no longer to make the existing thing continue to
run it. It's
right?
not,
and I couldn't, because this incredible team of young talents that we have are so much, they're plugged in and they know what, they do it better than I would. I think that would be the ultimate act of bravery. It's like that post that you replied to the other day. I know there is a part of, but I've said this forever. But I think I mean it now more than I ever have. Is that I know that there is a part of me that would be the best of me if I had a room with a view of the sea and I just wrote. And I know that there are stories that are inside of me that cannot and will not be told unless they have the full space to do so. I was telling a friend the other day, and he was asking me, what's the end goal of the Substack? What's the purpose of the Substack? And I think, you know what? I think maybe there's a book in it at the end of it. If I collect these different columns. But at the same time, I said to him, but that's also my easy way out, because I know how to do that story. I've done it before.
Why are
Because-
you
and it
why are you
depends on-
thinking why does it have to have a goal?
You see? What is the doing? What is the objective? Why does it have to? I know.
Yeah.
You know, I started the Substack going, I'm doing this for me. And what was the first thing I did?
because
I'd sit
we're
there and I count
wired.
the subscribers and I count the likes.
We're wired. This is something that we have to actively forget. And we'll find ourselves, like I find myself pitching left, right, and center. And then I realize, I was like, I don't want to pitch this. This is mine. I'm like, don't. It's like, I just, you know? And
It
it's
is an
just,
instinct,
it
you're
is.
right.
It is.
It
Why,
is.
why does it have to have an end goal? It could be in itself an end goal.
Yeah.
Of expression, a beacon of expression. And why did they say that? I feel that this is brave because I see you on magazines and I see you on I see you. But today I would say I saw you. You know, I was allowed to no, really, I'm like, it's just, there's resonance and there's relatability, you know, and there's truth. And I think this is very brave. It's easy for someone who doesn't have anything that haven't worked to build up that persona, you know, but it takes bravery to say, you know what, yes, that was part of me and I accept it. But there's another lingering, aching part of me that needs to come out now. And you're respecting that. And I think that's brave.
You know what's interesting, Ari? You were saying earlier about how your mother always thought that you should be an artist.
Yeah.
And this is art, this is creativity, and this is art, and writing is art, and this is you're telling stories, right? And that's an art. And I haven't figured out yet if it's possible to. I think this cliche image and perception that we have of the kind of ethereal, boho, in their own world, artist, creative is a cliche because I think there's a part of it that's very true. And I don't know if it's, I think in having to be a CEO and having to lead a company and grow a company, I think by default, I don't know if it's possible to be both at once.
Yeah. I think we will know.
We'll see.
Yeah. I don't think we have the answer for that. But the road that I've decided to take, or the journey that I've decided to embark on, is to fight every urge to scale. You know, when you said that, I was like, what do you do? I'm like, I own a very boutique production company, very boutique. And the whole idea, it's not anything but can something be successful and not scaled? As you were saying about an entrepreneurship where I'm creating something to exit, or I'm creating something does it have to grow? It can grow in impact, but does it have to grow in size? Does it have to grow in stress? I still didn't figure that out, you know?
I think growth is inevitable, Yara, but I think you're right. I think it's when you ask yourself, what is the purpose of that growth, right? Yeah. Exactly as you said. Is it growth for money? Is it growth for impact? Is it growth to have the power to incite meaningful change? Yeah. What is the purpose of the growth?
Yeah.
But I think growth is inevitable. I don't know if I understand, and I understand, and I understand what you're saying, and I read a lot within that, and I was called back to writing because I have that thing in me that any writer has, whether they're an amateur or a pro or just in their journals, is you can't not write. You can't not.
Yeah.
And I never stopped, even if it was just in the Instagram captions and everyone goes, "They're so long." I never stopped. But yes, you write for yourself and you create art for yourself. And I'm a big believer in that. But I also don't believe that but you also do it because it is the most honest thing about you. And everyone wants to be seen in their most inside.
That's beautiful. And this is...
And so I don't buy into this idea of it doesn't matter if no one sees my art. It doesn't matter if no one sees my writing. I don't know if that's true. I don't know if people are truly being honest when to themselves. Because I do want, I'm telling a story.
Yeah.
To be seen.
It doesn't, I don't know if I don't know if I have I don't know if I have an answer to that, or that I need to give an answer to that, honestly. I don't feel like I need to give an answer to that, in the sense, because whatever it takes a person to express their thoughts, their beliefs, their innermost wisdom, on whatever form, just to be seen and for that art to be connected with, I think that in itself is purpose, full stop. Whether it's resonates with 1, 10 million, that is what I don't care about. My heart doesn't care about it. My soul doesn't care about it. My mind cares 100% how many people see them. But this is where I need to tame myself and know. Okay.
But Sierra, can I ask you something?
Yeah, please.
For just to play devil's advocate, or maybe because it's the way I feel, but I haven't really quite figured it out.
Yeah.
Here's the reality of the situation. You're 100% checking the performance of your podcasts.
Yes.
And I bet you, if I ask you, and you don't share this now, obviously, but I bet you, if we ask you what was your top performing guest, you'll be able to answer that for me.
Yeah.
Right? 100% you'll be able to answer me. You're not looking at the numbers, Yara.
No, of course I
am. And the numbers are also a kind of
indicator, but it's something that I need to be very mindful of taming, because I know I could be driven. I know this is innate in me. I know that my programming says, okay, fine, you're going to build something to profit.
I'm not talking about money. Khalis, I've never been driven by that. I've never, ever, which is probably, I reckon we could have been, alhamdulillah for everything, but maybe there was another scenario where we could have been much more aggressively bigger had I been driven by the bottom line. Yeah. And I was always I really was driven by the stories.
Yeah.
And if it wasn't, if it wasn't for having a great managing director and a great, partner in my brother who handles that business side of things, there would have been half the things that we did do, I would have been like, it's not, I don't believe in this story.
Yeah.
Right? And then we would have been, who knows where we would have been.
Yeah.
But I'm not saying, I'm not saying about, I don't know if it's about being driven, it's not about being driven by money.
I really love that, because it's not, why are we saying that they're interchangeable? Why is not being driven by money interchangeable with purpose? Something could be very purposeful, and again, the bottom line is very important, and it tells an honest story, and there's that notion of it can be one, and as long as it's not eating up my soul, because expansion and abundance is there. I can have this and this and this and this. It doesn't have to say we don't have to say no, but I didn't do it for I did it for this, for impact. I did it for storytelling. I did it for sustainability. I did it for monetization. I did it because the akli aish.
Which is exactly where we go, Yara, which is why, to me, I always, and I wanted to tell these stories, and I continue to, I'm talking about the company now.
Yeah.
I so wanted to tell these stories, and I continue to.
I love this you're differentiating now.
I know that's and I wanted to tell the stories bigger because I wanted more and more people to see them.
Yep.
These are stories about my culture and my region and my people.
Yep.
And the perception of my region that I was so frustrated that the world didn't have when I was growing up before social media. And you can't play small in that.
Yeah.
I wanted to play big.
Yeah.
And I continue to want to play big. And I don't want us to have more views or more reach or more followers across our platforms or more hits on our websites for the sake of the number. I'm not, you know what I mean? It's
but
not,
for impact.
But because the more people I can reach, the more impact we have, the more power these stories have to create change and to inspire and to make a difference where they can make a difference.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's, even if I'm coming back into myself as a writer and the intimacy of this, I'm very comfortable. I'm not, people will be like, oh, you have to learn to be alone. I go, loved being alone my whole life. I'm like, I have that very, I'm always very wary of saying things where people think they say something and they think they're special or they're different because of it. That's bullshit. Many people are like this. But I have this thing like many people have of I can be the center of attention in a room and the ultimate extrovert in a room. And I will be so happy and joyful to have a meal by myself with my book. Or just staring, I am a pro at just being alone and staring at space. For hours, I can do that.
Yeah.
Happily.
Yeah.
But that doesn't take away from the fact that I don't think the mindset, and I don't want that to change about me, whatever happens. I don't want that mindset of, well, what's possible more?
Yeah.
What more is possible? Right?
Yeah.
I'm writing and I'm telling a story and it's meaningful. Is there a book in it? And I know that's not going to change about me. I will be thinking, is there a book? And then can the book become a movie? And then can the movie become an entire production?
انزلي يا ايمي اقعدي يا ايمي خلاص
And will Beyonce be in it?
انا بقى بعمل العكس بالظبط. I would do exactly the opposite, okay, this idea and this idea and this, which one of those I would like to ground and make happen? Why can't I make all of them? Because I don't want to stress myself out.
I think I need to get there still. I'm like, I just found something new to stress myself out about now.
No, I was just telling you, I wanted to ask you about how do you make space or how do you kind of let this, because this is a stressful life you're leading, and by stress, it's not, stress has been connoted, has been given a very bad reputation, but stress is something that makes you get up and do things. It's chronic stress that is bad for us and then. But you seem like a person with fire, right? How do you kind of tame that fire? Do you know?
So I think, look, there's practical things which everyone talks about, but there's also, I think, for me, and again, everyone says this, but it's so important, perspective is everything. What a privilege that the thing that stresses me out is having a company to run that tells stories. What a privilege that the thing that's stressing me out is having an ecosystem of family that trusts me to lead and to solve the problem, right? However,
I love this gratitude.
My dad said this, it's very easy to be on a podcast and again, to speak with hindsight and to say nice words. And so, it's just, there's always a reality to this. And that, I've gone to some very, very dark, bitter, resentful, angry. I have been full of rage.
Yeah. That's the fire.
But rage at why do I always have to be in charge? It goes back to that post. I don't want to be in charge. Why am I the one in charge? Why when the entire world falls apart during the pandemic, I'm the one face down on the carpet crying, but also in the back of my mind going, but if I move this piece here and that puzzle here, then maybe I can save it from here and we'll pivot here. Okay, I got this. Okay, we're going to solve it like this. Here's the plan, guys. Do you know what I mean? I got the plan. What is it? Is it Scooby-Doo where someone always has the plan? And then my dad, and there was just one time where I really started to go into a very, very dark place and I wasn't speaking to anyone and I was just wanting anyone to talk to me for months.
Yeah.
And my dad sat me down and he goes, and I don't know if this is right or wrong. And I don't know if it creates another level of trauma that just makes me crazier about this stuff. But he said, God has blessed you to be the person who has the emotional and psychological and intellectual ability to be the one in charge.
Love it.
And who are you to dismiss that blessing? It is a strength. And whether it's a God-given strength or it is a God-given via challenges and experiences strength. This is the lot that I've been given in life. And I think I've had to train myself into that perspective and shift that perspective. And that's helped me navigate that I was, the resentment and bitterness was creating the kind of stress that makes you ill.
Yeah.
Right? And then on the flip side of that, there's just being very strict about, again, and this takes 18 experience, understanding my body and understanding my psychology and understanding myself, right? And understanding that I know without doubt, exactly 5 working days, no, not 5 working days, exactly 5 days before my period, I will be absolutely an unhinged, crazy bitch, right? And I will think the world is about to end, for sure.
Yeah.
And just even having...
That's self-knowledge.
Right? And just even having the knowledge to understand, okay, this is not a thing I'm actually feeling.
It's just...
And today, I will remove myself.
Yeah.
I will remove myself from the situation.
But you know, there's another thought here, Yani. I'm sorry I shouldn't be doing that as a podcaster.
This is the conversation.
There is another narrative where these senses are heightened for a reason. You know, and it's, yes, maybe sometimes we need to remove ourselves, but other times we still learning to embrace it and think that it's intuitive knowledge. You know?
Yeah, but I will literally go in and just fire everyone if I were to embrace that feeling.
You don't want to do that?
Yeah. Like I know, like I've made some, like, so I understand. Like, and I understand that working out every morning, I work out with my very good friend Dina, and she hasn't, so I work out with her every morning, remotely, and because I do it at like 6 a.m. But I've understood, and I work out because I've understood that if I don't, I cannot survive.
Fire is gonna be.
I cannot survive the day.
Yeah. And
just learning how to breathe has been a revelation. Ugh. Learning how to, there's this thing that I learned when I started, and I'm so grateful, alhamdulillah, that I started to do this in my mid-30s. But when I started to work out actively and intentionally and regularly in my mid-30s, learning how to move very fast but breathe very slow.
Magic.
That's
magic.
Was a life.
That's magic. That's magic, and very few people will understand that space. That's magic.
It's life-changing. And even now, my dad would always say this to me as well. I would watch my dad, masalan, growing up, and he'd be on a work call. And he would be very, he'd sound like he was very upset about something, and it was very kada, and it was a problem, and he was making the point, and he'd sound like he was not yelling, but he would sound like, I'm angry, and this is not good.
Yeah.
And then he would get off the phone and wink at me, right?
Yeah.
And it was that difference of, I am going to be in a space now with you because I'm in this situation and I have to solve it, but I won't let it be here. And I tell this, I
love that.
I'll tell this to my team, like my editors especially, like everything can be going wrong on a cover shoot. And I would be like, be upset in that space, but have the perspective to be aware that it actually doesn't affect anything else.
Yeah.
So go in there and be upset that the photographer hasn't showed up on time.
I love that.
But don't be upset in here because nothing bad has happened. Bad is shut in your life. And so this was a thing about perspective. Alhamdulillah.
Yeah.
Everyone is well. And that I think it becomes a way of being after a while.
I love that. Those are two nuggets that are really, that require wisdom. And require life to understand. Yeah, because, at this day and age, everyone is an expert. Like, everyone is like, and I love that, quite frankly, because we have been silenced for ages. So that everyone would come out and say, this is how it should be done. That's where I get kind of iffy. Because one thing I've learned that it's not a one size fit all. And what again, another reason why this podcast came to life, I realized that we have become the older generation, and I accepted that. I swear, I accepted that. I'm like, okay, I tapped my 40s. I'm not a child anymore. I'm not going to, I need to carry my own wisdom.
We're the grown-ups.
Yep.
In the room.
We are the grown-ups.
I don't know how that happened.
I don't know. But right there and then, you have given two pieces of advice that actually for me is explains that you create internally the space for the kind of success, not saying that this is the one type of success, for the type of success that you wanted, because it requires you to hold space for a lot of stress, a lot of unknown. And you've done that, and it's beautiful.
Alhamdulillah, thank you. It's very sweet of me to say.
Yeah. No, it is beautiful. And I'm saying it out of, it is a struggle. I understand that it is a struggle to create that space within you to become who you need to become, And maybe this is where you are now because you're becoming something new. And quite frankly, the grace and honesty of accepting that becoming is beautiful.
Oh, thank you. It means a lot to me. Thank you.
And thank you for sharing it here.
Thank you for having me in this beautiful space.
Yes, yes, I've been very very grateful and very blessed بصراحة with the space that I've been given. Amy, thank you so much.
Thank you.
I'm truly grateful from the bottom of my heart, and it's quite ironic that it's the first real.
It really is.
It is the first conversation.
All the time.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, in functions.
In functions.
No,
Which is another podcast.
We're all together. Yes, all together. But I'm very grateful to have had this conversation with you. Truly.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you very much.